Well, our house is about 25 years old, and the parts we had renovated are the kitchen and the ensuite bath. The ensuite bath was, in particular, the shower was becoming difficult to get clean, and our kitchen was just getting old, cabinets falling apart, and really as well, the kitchen is quite small, we found, for the size of the house, so wanted to renovate it in a way that would make it look bigger.
Yeah, the funny thing, when we first bought this house, first thing we wanted to do was actually renovate the primary bath, but it took us up to this point, which is we've been in the house, what, 15 years? Yeah, and I'm glad we finally were able to do it. Another thing is that Nadine and I, we love cooking, and although at initial glance the kitchen we originally had was up to our standards, we found out quickly enough that there wasn't enough room to do what we wanted it to do. So it all led us up to, on top of the fact that it was breaking down after about 20 years, that we needed to get something done.
So I guess I would answer that by comparison to what's the alternative, and my knowledge of the alternative would be a kitchen cabinet maker, and we explored a lot of quotes with kitchen cabinet makers as well. And I felt like in the end it was best to go design build, because you're kind of getting on the same page with the company you're hiring in terms of the philosophy or the approach to it. You're both looking to how to renovate the space to make it look nice and deal with any of the issues that come up as part of that renovation, as opposed to with a kitchen cabinet maker, even though they provide a lot of the same services, their goal is ultimately to sell you their cabinets. And they'll try and make their cabinets look nice, but who knows what hiccups you come up with in the process that maybe they're not best equipped to resolve for you. You just have a whole lot more flexibility budget-wise if you're not stuck to that particular cabinet maker's cabinets as well. So design build felt like the better way to go for us.
Yeah, I agree. Usually a project this size, it doesn't make, the sum of its parts doesn't really work out. We want somebody who would work on a soup to nuts project, who would guide us through the whole process right from the beginning. There's a lot that we don't know, even though we feel that we have good experience, but we wanted somebody that would guide us through that whole process, so that's why we went for it.
As expected, there are limitations on the number of times you can make wholesale changes to the design, but we felt that those limitations were adequate for us to achieve what we wanted out of it, so we didn't feel, overly constrained by it. And ultimately, where we didn't know what to do, we found we got suggestions, really good suggestions, to help us figure out what to do and equip us to make a decision. And where we had ideas and knew the things we wanted to do, those things were listened to very well and integrated into the design. So it felt like a really good balance between guidance and listening, basically.
Yeah, there was limitations to the original kitchen. I knew there was roadblocks based on the amount of counter space we wanted in our home or in our kitchen. And on top of the fact that we knew that we needed guidance. This was a big job, and there was a lot of things that we could probably suggest that we wanted, but there was a lot of new ideas that were brought to the table for somebody who has more expertise than we do on it, and we were very appreciative of that. It made our kitchen as good as it is today.
Well, for us, the way it was set up was that we continued to live in our space, the space other than our kitchen, living room, and washroom. And we had a foreman assigned to our project who was here full-time. Ended up building a relationship with him, because you're essentially living with him for 2 to 3 months while the project is being done. And so it was really good in the sense that we built that relationship, and we had the daily kind of oversight and communication with him, and listening to our questions or making small adjustments where that needed to be made. And overall, super impressed with his professionalism overall every day, and his listening skills to hear us out and make things look the way we wanted them to look. So absolutely no complaints in that regard. It was a good experience.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. It's exactly the same thing. Professionalism was the one that was big in our books. And the fact, I think the biggest thing is that we had to build a relationship. We both work from home. And there was a lot of discussion back and forth, and I was very appreciative that the team was listening to us when they were making changes. And for the most part, we understand that almost all teams, that at least the ones I deal with, try to keep to timelines. And sometimes we go over and sometimes you don't. For the most case, they were right on exactly their timelines, when they can get things done, and being honest about it. It is about building relationships, and we felt comfortable through that whole process. That was very important because I'm sure everybody puts a lot of money towards these renovations. And at the end of it, we were very, very pleased.
For me, it's three things. It's the large shower, that's fantastic. It's the storage space, so we wanted to maximize the kitchen, and so we not only made it look bigger, but managed to squeeze in storage at every place you can think of, so that's fantastic. And this table we're sitting at, not the table per se, but the fact that the table is facing our living room, and so you're kind of really very much integrating the two spaces now and making them super functional. So those are my three favorite parts. I don't know about you.
I would have said the primary bath would have been first, because we've been wanting that for years and years. We took a trip down to Southeast Asia, and we always had these rain shower baths and walk-in. We just absolutely fell in love with. So this is exactly what we wanted. But at the end of the whole process, the funny thing is that we would sit on our couch and almost weekly, we're supposed to be watching TV, we glance over and we look at the kitchen. We make a comment to each other how beautiful it is. And so I think it's the kitchen and it's the room. I'm able to cook in here. Yes, I do a lot of the cooking. So we do a lot of the cooking, and I love the space that I'm given to create my art.
I would say do your due diligence in terms of getting a few quotes from different companies so that you have a sense of kind of the market price for the renovation that you're looking at. That way you feel, you know, when you're being treated fairly by the contractors you're dealing with. Through that process of getting quotes from different companies, you at the same time will generally get a preliminary mock-up of a design that they have in mind for you. I found that process helpful with those preliminary designs to put them side by side and kind of help that shape my concept of what I wanted for a design. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
I would say devil's in the details. So when you are talking to any of these companies, ensure that you look for the details as far as how their process works out step by step. So there is no gotchas. And yeah, you said the same thing, due diligence.
Due diligence and get references where you can as well.
Yes, yeah.
I would say go into it with clear expectations on both sides, what your budget is, so that you can work within that budget, and that will bring you contentment and happiness at the end.
Yes.
As well, I would say be a reasonable customer. If you're a reasonable customer, Urbacity is a reasonable company, and when you have reasonable people on both sides, everything's going to work out no matter what hiccups you encounter along the way. So yeah, so that'd be the two main things.
So it's a scary process at the end of the day when you sign those documents to actually have the work started. My feedback would be trust the process. Trust the process. They've been through this many, many times. They have your best interests in mind, and Urbacity had ours. We had a lot of suggestions, we had a lot of feedback, and they always took it in. It made us feel comfortable, and we went away very happy.